Hello, good morning. It's just gone 7 AM and I'm heading out of Bath on a 66-mile route. That's just slightly over 100 kilometres, so it'll tie in with my preparation for my upcoming November 200-kilometre ride for my Round the Year Round and Earth series. There's several reasons for today's ride. I mean, first of all, winter fitness. I wanted to test the new bike out. Now it's got its mud guards and the rack and my top bag on. I'm using it as a winter bike really for a day ride. I'm heading north out of Bath along the Fossway about 7 or 8 miles, and then I'm going to visit 2 of Gloucestershire's Churches Conservation Trust properties. One of them is really remote and pretty by all accounts. I've never been there before. It's on a private estate. And then I'll head into Tetbury to visit one there, and then I'll come back towards Bristol, and I want to check out a possible hot tent camp site for the coming weeks. So I've thought of a really good theme. I just want to make sure it's possible to camp there before I tell you anything more about my plans. A little bit of drizzle in the air. I'm keen to get going before the traffic builds up. I'll speak to you once we get up on the Fossway. We're now on the straight course of the Fossway, and either side of me I can see fields about 6 or 7 feet below, which is a good demonstration of the agar. We're about 800 plus feet up here, so it feels very exposed. Certainly on a November morning like today, it's misty, there's drizzle in the air. It just feels like you're in the middle of nowhere up here. And just before we leave the course of the Fossway, I'm going to show you where I think there may have been the equivalent of a travel lodge in Roman times. And I'll explain why I think that. First of all, let me show you the agar. Can you see the course of the road? On either side it slopes down, there's fields there about 7, 8, 10 feet below us, same there. So we're raised. So in the old days water would have just flowed down into ditches. Along here, the main road, and most of the traffic's going to be bearing off to the right, and then we carry straight on, it becomes a minor road. And it's a typical Roman road, it's up and down, up and down. It's quite hard to ride actually. After the road being level for a while, we've now dropped down into this second steeply wooded valley, and this is where I think there may well have been some kind of Roman settlement or overnight accommodation. Because of this, any survival manual or course will tell you to sustain life you need food, shelter, warmth, and part of that food is water, of course, isn't it? The modern day pubs and places of accommodation tend to be higher up that way, say at the shoe or the jib, but this is probably more likely 2,000 years ago because there's fresh running water. And also I'm looking at my mileage, 11.4 miles from my home in Bath, and as I understand it, the average daily distance on a Roman road was somewhere between about 10, 12, 14 miles. So this would have been a day's journey from Bath, or to Bath if you're heading that way. So again, it's fairly sheltered, isn't it, from the extreme weather that you may be experiencing up here, down in this little dip. You've got fresh drinking water, and it would have been round about the distance you would have expected to find something. Just an amateur guess, I've got no other reason for assuming that. I've never read anything, it's just my gut feeling. This is Broadmead Brook, and it's one of 2 little streams that rise up near the M4. This one, Broadmead Brook at Cold Ashton, And there's also the Burton Brook a bit further up near the M4, in fact right by junction 18 of the M4. It's called Burton Brook, and if you imagine a Y on its side, they both flow along this way and then they join and become the Brook at Castlecombe. You may not have heard of the Brook, but you've almost certainly seen it in pictures or on films, because Castlecombe is where they filmed Dr. Dolittle, and it's a huge tourist spot for international travellers. And that's where the Brook flows through, and then it carries on through the valleys. In fact, it flows into the River Avon at Bathford, near Bath. We passed very close to where it actually flows into the River Avon this morning on our way out of Bath. Going to carry on up here a little bit further, and then we'll be leaving the course of the Fossway, heading over onto much higher ground towards our first church today. It's spelt Ozleworth. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Ozleworth or Ozleworth. Somebody who knows locally may be able to put me right. To the best of my knowledge, I've never been there. I've seen the signs for it many times. I thought I must go there sometime. I was reading up last night about how to get there, directions, and if you're travelling by car, it says you need to park outside the estate and then walk along a bridleway to get to the church. Whether we have to ride along that, I'm not sure. I've done the route via GPS, but I didn't scrutinise it too much because I just want the buzz of just following the track on my Garmin and seeing where it takes me. But apparently the church is very spectacular and there's a very unusual tower. So shortly left, and then we'll be heading up on the high ground. A couple of big climbs before we get there actually, and then the first church, Ozleworth. Just a quick bit about today's route and the second theme of this ride. We've just left the village of Burton and we're just leaving the county of Wiltshire, and we're going into the modern day county of South Gloucestershire. The route vaguely resembles a figure 8 straddling the M4. Well, we're just about to cross it, so you can see we're right in the join. So we're about to start the northern loop up to the first church and then on to Tetbury. Regular viewers will know I love looking around old historic churches, parish churches, not so keen on town ones. And the last few years I've been visiting lots of churches conservation trust properties. These are redundant churches that are still open to the public to go and look around. The Churches Conservation Trust, CCT, have got many properties. It's over 270 I believe throughout the United Kingdom, and I've been going through each of the local counties. I've visited all of the CCT churches in the county of Somerset, my home county. I recently finished visiting all the CC churches in Wiltshire, and now my winter project is to visit all their properties in the historic county of Gloucestershire, and that includes Bristol. On our left is the air sock of an airfield. On our right is the estate with lots of sheep grazing, and two riders are approaching. The wind begins to howl. Oh yeah. Action cameras often get criticised for running too hot, but my handlebar mounted action camera, the DJI Osmo Action 2, is having problems with the cold this morning. Keeps switching off to the temperature's too cold, so I'm now filming on both. Oh, it's come back on by the look of it. The handlebar mounted Action 2 has actually come back on now, but I'm also filming with a selfie stick on the DJI Osmo Action 3. There's no external microphone for this. I've just got one of those foam wind slayers, just basically a foam cover to try and eradicate as much and remove as much of the wind noise as possible. I probably need to put it away actually and use both hands along here, and this is getting quite bumpy. This really is a very steep and rocky, stony track covered in leaves, as you can see. Look at this, stunning colours. According to the Garmin, we're about to veer around to the right along here, which looks about right. Oh, I think we've just cut a corner off. I've just seen a car drive by there, so I think we're about to join a road. So you could avoid this by the look of it. If we'd carried on that other road, I think this is probably what we're going to rejoin. So we've just literally cut a corner off through here, but this is great, I'm loving this. Skipped a few heartbeats coming down there, and now it looks like, yeah, we're joining this road here. This is stunning. This is the small little village of Alderley. I don't think I've ever seen so many poppy displays as this year. All around here it's fantastic. Wow, look at this. Oh, wow, that's just so evocative. There's the purple ones there with the horse at the back. Wow, that's stunning. Haven't come to look at this church today, but that is well worth a revisit. Look at all the poppies around the trees, along the walls and in the arch. Wow, that's stunning. So I'm really loving this. This is just stunning. This is definitely one to come back to, look around. And it's just gone 10:30, so time's okay. I don't care if I don't get home to the dark. I need to start riding in the dark to get used to my winter audaxes. Wow. Soon after Alderley, as we start climbing up to Wootton Under Edge, and it climbs up steeply there. First sign for Ozleworth along there. Once again, I've ridden up here before. I've probably clocked that lane, I don't know, but to the best of my knowledge I've never been up there. And look, there's an old Victorian post box, a wall box, still used. Look, Monday to Friday 9 AM, Saturday 7 AM. After a few hundred yards the road opens out and levels off, so we're now heading along here. I could easily zoom out the GPS and just see where it is, but I don't want to. It just really feels like exploring unfamiliar territory, part of the adventure that I love. So I'm really enjoying this. Not sure how far it is, but it can't be too far now because I've seen this first signpost for Ozleworth back there. Before we get to the church, I meant to say back on the Fossway, where I believe there could have been a settlement, or at least some kind of habitation for overnight accommodation. There were several types of en route accommodation. Mancios were for officials doing Roman business or the prosperous. Then there were tabernes, tavern in effect, somewhere where you could stop and rest and sleep. There'd be food and drink. And then there was something called a capone. By all accounts, they were of ill repute, where thieves would quite often frequent. There'd be prostitutes there. And surprisingly, it said that they were quite often situated right next to a mancio. You can make of that what you will. Deciduous trees are looking bare. All the nests up there. The colours back there, just before I turned off, the reds, the yellows and the oranges of the leaves, especially the ones that had fallen, spectacular. Called the golden slopes of the valley up there. Stunning. Not even 24 miles from home. As I so often say, it's amazing what's on your doorstep, isn't it? This has all been cut back recently. I'm glad I didn't come down here soon after that. Can you imagine the amount of thorns that would have been in this road? And here's some sort of machinery down there, rotavator. Wow, I think that must be the Ozleworth estate over there. Looks very manicured. Might even have a big lake actually. Stop and have a look when it opens up. This is stunning. To the best of my knowledge, I've never been down here before. Yeah, I've been a cyclist all my adult life, and I'm in a shade over 24 miles from my home. Yeah, big ornamental pond down there. Still heading towards Ozleworth. Just along this lovely leafy lane we come to this T-junction, so it's no through road that way for obvious reasons. It looks like we're about to start going through the estate, and then there's a steep hill up that way. Hear a dog barking, hope it's on the chain somewhere, and yeah, it looks like we're going through here. That's looking back over at the gatehouse, so that would have been the T-junction there, the no through road down into the valley, and then the left hand turn would have been that road along there. And we've just come down past one of the ornamental ponds, steep turn up here. There's lots of shooting going on. Just round the corner there were loads of turkeys. Wonder if they voted for Christmas. So I guess the church is up here somewhere. I believe it's on the estate. We're going to find out, aren't we? As you climb up to the summit of that ornamental park, there's a turning off to the right. It clearly says private property, but the Garmin was pointing me round here, and here it is. There's the church with its very unusual tower. So, and I know we have got permission to come here. Gosh, that looks like there might have been a North Door once upon a time. Different building materials there. Definitely where it's been seamed together. Let's go and have a look. So I'm guessing the porch is on the south. Let's go and find out. So I was kind of preparing myself to be challenged any moment, but the public do have access to this, so I just hope I'm not trespassing in any way. There's a plaque there telling you St Nicholas of Myra, Ozleworth. This church is cared for by the Church's Conservation Trust. Although no longer needed for regular worship, it remains a consecrated building, a part of England's history, maintained for the benefit of this and future generations. Just gonna, oh look at that amazing ornamental arch. That solid door, that looks like something from Tolkien, isn't it? And there's its steel plaque. In fact, I think they're plastic, but it's made to look like steel. That ornamental arch is amazing. All the netting there to keep the birds out from the porch rafts. As usual, I'm going to take my hat off, open the door, and just wonder what's inside. Oh gosh. There's the electric lights. I may try and find a switch, I may not. It's unusual, isn't it, to have the bell tower right in the middle. It is quite an unusual church. I'll give you the overview when I get outside. I'm reluctant to put lights on actually. I think it might just change the atmosphere too much. Amazing bell tower. Is that a harmonium? Through this big arch into the chancel, and as usual the whole atmosphere just changes the feel. A couple more steps to the altar. Oh gosh, look at that amazing carving behind the reredos, I think they call it. Stained glass window. Can just hear mechanised sounds, you know, maintenance for the park, I guess. Oh gosh, walking back towards through the bell tower. 2 ropes by the look of them. No, that looks like a rope for possibly shutters. There's the bell rope, isn't it? So possibly a single bell. Then the font back into the much darkened nave. This is amazing. Oh, I'm so glad I've come here. I'm guessing this is the west window. That's looking back east. I've just gone back outside to get my head torch. I want to read the visitor's book. 6th to the 11th. I think today is the 8th. Person 1, Mark from Stroud, Ledbury, Bristol. Grew up in Dursley, but first ever visit here. Beautiful church. Oh, South Sea, Tewkesbury, Wimborne, Chipping Sodbury, Leamington Spa, Stockport, Greater Manchester, Highworth, Newton Abbot, New Zealand as the first international visitor I can see. Gosh, there's quite a few. That's only the 19th of the 9th, so I'm already a couple of pages back. There, I've just added my entry. I believe it's the 8th today. Andy C, Party of 1, Bath Sunset, visiting CC churches in Gloucester by bicycle. A couple of men mountain bikers just came in, poked their head through the door and had a quick look. So I'll just tell you a little bit about this church. It says, the overview, a beautiful church with a fascinating octagonal tower and an ancient churchyard. Travellers on the Cotswold Way would find Ozleworth's beautiful church near to the Newark Park estate in remote and beautiful country. Up a deep narrow valley, this lovely little Norman church stands in a circular churchyard, which suggests an early and perhaps pre-Christian site. I'll put a link to this page further below, so I won't read all of that. Leaving St Nicholas of Myra. Heading back that way and out of the estate up towards Tetbury. Leaving via the bridle path because the ornamental road is private property. And this is the access that we have. And then a gate out of the estate by the look of it. Look at this. Back up on some steep roads. Public telephone box there. So we've left private property. So you really do need to stick to what's signposted as the bridleway. We've just come up the hill from Tetbury Upton into the outskirts of Tetbury, opposite the fire station. Got an amazing lich gate, but look at this amazing poppy display coming out of the yew tree, almost like blood flowing. That's incredible. just talking to the guy from the council. I just said how much I like that, and he said it was one of his mates' ideas actually from the town council. What a brilliant idea. So this is St Saviour's Church. Look at all the poppies around the porch. Look at that amazing, almost Gothic style porch. I was expecting, being a Victorian church that was built for the poor, that it'd be more like a chapel, basic, but this is pretty amazing, isn't it? There we are, St Saviour's, Tetbury. As usual, hat off, and we'll pop inside and have a look. The usual, what am I going to find inside? The outside is stunning. Well, I'm going to find it's dark inside. Oh gosh, more poppies. I really do need to find light in here. Easy to find. Oh, look at that. Wonder if that's a well that lady was telling me about recently, where they'd pour the excess wine down or the water after communion. Look at these wonderful poppy wreaths. Oh, and the font. This is absolutely spectacular poppies. So I've got one of the lights on. There's a rood screen by the look of it into the chancel. Probably going to leave the lights like this actually. As I walk down the aisle. Walking towards the chancel, stone pulpit, through this wonderful wooden carved rood screen. I may need to put some light on to show you that. Oh, this is wonderful. I wasn't expecting such a grand church when I read it was built for the poor. Maybe that's just my background and upbringing, but normally you'll give them fairly basic stuff, aren't you? Education, etc. Look at that. That east window, crucifixion. Wow. I may just go and light the church up a bit more. Gosh, the nave looks almost like a barn. Well, that's to represent the agricultural community, maybe. You get the impression there's some pretty grand carving on that, although I cannot see it. See if we can find some lights. I mean, churches cost so much to maintain anyway. I tend not to like to burden them with putting lights on when I don't need to. And a harmonium by the look of it, a pump organ. Amazing chandelier. This does feel like a tithe barn, it really does. Say it so often, church of two halves. That's the dividing line, isn't it? For me anyway. Somehow, somewhere in France, it sounds like it's got a connection, a bad connection probably, with northern France. First World War, hence all the poppy wreaths. As usual, quick glance at the visitors book. 2 days ago, the last person who visited took the trouble to sign. Camborne, Cornwall, Wales, Canada, Exeter, Starbridge, Colchester, Kenilworth. Is that Geneva? It's 1:30 p.m. Just had a lovely lunch down there. Had to put an extra layer on, so I've got all my layers on now apart from my gloves. I'll be putting those on as I leave. And leaving this wonderful place. This was a real surprise. I knew Ozleworth was going to be spectacular. I'd read so. I had it picture in my head this would be very, very basic. Couldn't have been further from the truth. The cross is fairly plain, but everything else is pretty spectacular. There's the tower of the other church, the posher church in the town centre there. We're going to head back the way we've just come, down bottom of the hill. After a few hundred yards, turn left and we'll start making our way back to Bath. I'll talk to you more when we get on the Bath to Bristol bike track and I'm a couple of miles from home. But until then, I'll see you near Bath. You can see it's rush hour. We're on the Bath to Bristol cycle path. Part of the old railway route has had to be diverted, so they've built part of the ring road on it. So this is just one of those parts, and then we'll round there, we'll drop back down and get on the course of it, and it'll be very quiet. It's so nice being traffic free, isn't it? Seeing all this rush hour traffic. This is the ring road. This is Bristol's equivalent of, I suppose, the London North Circular or South Circular, which then went on to become the M25. Friday evening, rush hour. I expect everyone's keen to get home for the weekend. I'm going to continue down just about a mile or so. We get to Warmley Station and I'll finish the video there. I'm now at the former Warmley Station, which is now a recreation area. Actually, there's a cafe and lots of garden seating areas. There's even a loo built around a TARDIS. There's a blue box done up to look like a TARDIS, and it's actually their outside loo. There's all these wonderful two-dimensional statuettes here. It's quite haunting actually. Men, women, children on the platform. You come along here in the middle of the night or very early in the morning, as I have done on old axes in the past. It's quite evocative. It's been a fantastic day out actually. I'm about 5-6 miles from home. Really looking forward to getting home now. I've got lasagna, a couple of pints of lager in the fridge ready for me. Give my darling wife a ring shortly to let her know I'll be home soon. Visited 2 of the churches today, and it was so atmospheric up on the Cotswolds. It's really amazing ride actually, and I'm so pleased with the bike. I think I might just tweak with the tyres slightly. I pumped them up rock hard, ready for the hot tent camping last week. I went up to maximum pressure, and then I let a bit of air out over the weekend, and I took them down to 4 bar. I think I might take them down to 3.5. I want a little bit of a less harsh ride, but I did find today once or twice it's quite bumpy and harsh. The sidewalls say 2.5 to 5 bar, I think, so I've got them up to 4, so I think I could possibly come down to 3.5, maybe 3, I don't know, I'll see. I'll experiment and just try and find that balance between the comfortable ride but feeling that I've got the maximum puncture resistance on them. As I came back, part of this afternoon's route went past a place I've really fancied hot tent camping recently, and I can make a theme of a video, including a film poster that I've edited a little bit and some old photographs. I stopped at the location just to make sure there was a big enough footprint that the tent could get down, and there's plenty there. And I also broke off a hard bit of wood and poked it in the ground just 5 or 6 inches just to make sure tent pegs would get in there, and it passed both those tests. So I'm definitely going to do that camp in the next few weeks. Whether it be before I go to Blackpool in December or soon after, I'm not sure, because I've got a few things on, but hopefully that'll be, if not the next video, the next after that, or the third one after that. Anyway, if you've got this far, thanks so much for coming along. Hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.